Welcome to MarketWise Live, the real estate edition, the podcast that gives you the hard facts behind what's going on in real estate. Realtor Mike Freeman, a Caldwell Banker realtor who holds an MBA in finance, draws from his financial background and his deep network to bring the most value for anyone looking to buy, sell, rent, or invest. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to MarketWise Live with Realtor Mike Freeman. Mike Freeman, of course, is here in the house. This is David Yaz of the Boston Podcast Network, pod617.com, in our Westwood, Mass studios. More importantly, Mike, how are you?
I don't know if it's more important, Dave, but I appreciate that.
Well, without you, there's no show.
I am doing great on this little too chilly day. How are you doing?
Yeah, as usual, New England weather just sucks. I mean, it teased us. There was a day last week where it was 60.
70.
Oh, 70?
70.
Was it 70?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
I got to put the top down with snow on the ground.
I saw you posted that on Facebook.
I had to.
Yeah. Why not? So we're here back in the studio for another, no guest today, but that's because occasionally Mike likes to do episodes that gives you the straight dope on what's going on in the real estate market. It's probably the main reason why people listen to this pod.
Hopefully.
I would think. Yes. By the way, congratulations are in order. I know your YouTube channel, which if you're listening to this on the audio version and you haven't seen the YouTube, check it out. Subscribe to Mike's YouTube channel, and I know like half the country is watching this all of a sudden, Mike.
It's at least half. No, and it's great, and I owe a lot of it to you because all of the podcasts are recorded right here. Mm-hmm. And the videos from this podcast that we're obviously doing now, and then the shorts I create, I've had almost 20,000 views in just the last month. So
amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's great. And so I think that the guests have really contributed, and I agree with what you just said, that we're really going to get to the heart of it here, and a lot of really what is the market about and what's it doing. So I'll hand it over to you. But
sure. This first episode, we're going to talk about sort of the landscape of Massachusetts real estate market, how competitive it is, what makes offers stand out, what are the do's and don'ts, what are the faux pas you don't want to create if you are a buyer, all kinds of things like that, the usual tips and tricks of the trade. So let's start sort of at the top where it makes sense to, and that's just give us a snapshot of what the real estate market is like right now in Massachusetts.
Sure. So it continues to be what it's been for a while now. The trend of really low inventory has been going on for many, many years, and it existed before COVID, since COVID, and still today. So there are, as many people in the market know, there are just not a lot of houses for sale, and it's really difficult. I know we're going to get into this, but it's really difficult for buyers to find something. So we're in a very competitive market where, because inventory is so low, if you find a house that you want to make an offer on, you have a lot of competition. So you have a lot of demand and very little supply. And so it's a seller's market. We're moving a little bit towards a buyer's market, but we're nowhere near even at a neutral market.
So just as sort of a point of comparison, you and I both, I don't technically live in Sharon anymore, but I am a Sharon guy, and I know you are as well.
Yeah.
In the town of Sharon, about how many houses are for sale right now?
Right now, there's like 20 or 25.
Okay.
In a town of 18,000 people.
Yeah. Is that the lowest you've seen it in recent memory? Or?
It's about the same as the last few years.
Yeah.
I mean, inventory's gotten slightly better overall over the last couple of years. If you look overall in Norfolk County, say, it's a little higher this year than last year, and last year's a little higher than the year before, but still historically very low. And it was a downward trend, I'd say, for the last 10 years, straight through like 2024. And now it's gotten slightly better.
Mm. So let's talk about making an offer, because I know people watch this podcast and want to time things correctly. A lot of people, I think, probably are in the market for a house and yet have just kind of put the whole thing on hold because of the inventory. But what makes an offer, when you're ready to make an offer, what will make an offer stand out today in this climate?
So the first thing is the more cash, the better, because sellers want to worry about as few things as possible. So if you can make an offer that's all cash, a lot of times the seller will accept your offer even if it's lower than somebody who's putting down 10%, say, and has a 90% mortgage. And I've seen that myself. I've seen people accept lower offers because they think that there's a much higher likelihood it's going to get to the closing table. And that's the first thing. So cash is king. The more cash you can put down, the better. And not to avoid PMI, private mortgage insurance, not for that reason. That saves you money by getting to 20% and avoiding that. But really, it's for the sellers and their peace of mind. They're in a position of strength. So as many things as you can eliminate that will concern them, that's in your best interest.
When you say more cash, is that typically going to come into play when the offer is at asking price? In other words, I'm guessing there aren't a whole lot of situations where there are two offers of the same amount that are not asking price.
Right.
This is just straight logic, right?
Yeah.
But I take it there, and again, in this market, you're probably going to get a lot of offers at asking price when a desirable higher home goes on the market. And so I take it those are the situations maybe where it's particularly critical because you get two offers both at asking price. Of course, you're going to go with the one with more cash. I take it, right?
Yeah, even if it's less money. I mean, I've seen people take 10, 20,000 less.
Is that right? Okay.
Both above and below asking if it is more cash. I had one person, it's actually a Sharon person, and sometimes you get into these situations where the husband and wife want completely different things. The wife wanted, because the neighbor had a problem with a buyer that had a mortgage and it fell through. The wife won't accept an offer that was $50,000 less.
Come on.
And the husband said, well, I can't repeat what he said with me on the phone. I was like, okay, I'll just sit here and listen. And he's like, you got to be kidding me. And she's like, no, I don't want a mortgage. And I said to them, look, I know your neighbor, this happened to your neighbor, but this is extremely rare to have financing fall through. Does it happen? Absolutely.
Right.
But she accepted $50,000 less.
They did accept that, the lower offer?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even if, in a situation like that, I would think that even if the financing falls through, yes, it's a hassle. You got to repeat the process, right? But you're not really out of pocket. If it's that desirable a home, someone else is going to buy it, right?
Well, yes, but here's the problem. Here's the problem. Once you accept an offer and MLS is updated to contingent or under agreement, which means you've gone to the next step and you've completed a purchase and sale and everybody signed it. Then if the financing falls through and you have to go back on the market, now everybody is alerted to that and they think something's wrong with the house.
Okay.
That's the problem. And so typically if that happens, you're going to end up accepting less. And also because it's now been in the market so many more days, you can now be, at that point, you can be at 60 days, 90 days. So buyer strategy is not going to be the same that it was a week in where they know they have to go way above ask. Now they're like, okay, I can get it for less. So that's really why a seller just wants those two reasons and the fact that they just, for peace of mind, they just don't want to go. I mean, people are busy. People have jobs. People have kids.
You want to get it done.
Yeah, they just don't want to go through that.
When I was selling homes on the couple of occasions where I used to joke that the house was haunted. I think that was probably not a great move. Let's move on and talk a little bit about mortgage rates. So tell us what rates are like now as compared to historically, and is it actually impacting buyers? Yeah,
so that's a really good question. So as many people know, mortgage rates were down in the threes. Some people even got high twos 3-4 years ago. And then they shot up to about 7 or 8. Now they're down a little bit, decent amount to 6-ish, about 6%. And that, even though it's approximately double what it was not too long ago, people might think, wow, that's really high. Well, when our parents bought homes in the 70s, interest rates were in the high teens.
Yep.
So it's hard for us to imagine that, and it'll probably never happen again. I mean, who knows, 100 years from now, right? But 6% is still historically, if you looked back 50, 70 years, extremely low. So we try to set people's expectations that you can't really look back at the 3% and expect that we're ever going to get back there. Is it possible? Sure. Is it likely? No.
It's like free money, really.
Yeah.
Because you from the minimal amount I remember from being a financial advisor, your investments are likely earning anywhere from 5% to, in a good year, 12% or more, something like that. So if you've got money invested over here, it's almost like you're making money by taking the bank's money.
Absolutely.
So 3% is ridiculous. But to me, there's nothing wrong with 6%. It sounds like something you should be able to stomach.
Yeah, it's a really good rate, and we try to educate people that that's the case. But you're right about the free money. And I used to work with somebody. I used to work for an executive at Fidelity who used to say, when interest rates were going down every single year, 20, 15 years ago, he would say, it's like everybody's getting a tax refund. Because you're right, it really is like free money. And so you can look at a financial model like the one I built, and you can see that if you change the interest rate, it's unbelievable how much more you can afford.
Yeah. It's almost like get a mortgage even if you're not buying a house. Like, I mean, just take it sounds silly, but if you take out it's simple math. If you take out a loan and you're only paying 3% on the loan, you invest all that money in the stock market and you're making like 6%.
Yeah,
it's passive income. It's coming in every year.
So that's the key. Yeah. But you asked a really good question about what it takes to get your offer accepted. If you don't mind, I just wanted to add one thing to that. So cash, I mentioned, but sometimes there's nothing you can do. You can't come up with $200,000 in cash. So you put down what you can afford. Now, can you still get a house? Absolutely. Is it harder? Yes. But there are other ways that you can make your offer stand out. Now, love letters, or letters where you write how much you love the house and how happy your family will be in it, and et cetera, those are pretty much not allowed anymore. I mean,
is that right?
Yeah, a lot of times right in MLS, sellers will say, or ask their agents to write, no love letters, please. And I can tell you that our legal department at Coldwell Banker has strongly encouraged us not to have our clients do them. Part of it is a lot of times people include pictures. So if you include a picture based on race, based on age, there's all kinds of things. If you include a picture, that people can discriminate. So you don't want to be in that situation where somebody's going to potentially not want to go with your offer because you're 28 years old and they think, well, this person's a lot less likely to get it than somebody who's 50 or 60.
Just to push back a little bit on that, or just maybe to ask you to clarify, you're probably going to know what race the potential buyer is. I guess maybe not necessarily. An offer comes in, you don't necessarily know their race, I guess.
You can always do a Google search.
Right, yeah.
But when you put a picture, then like right away you're setting yourself up, and that's why legal is like just don't do it. If someone wants to do a Google search, let them do a Google search. We can't control that. Right. But it's not just the picture. It's that there are things that you as a consumer might just say in your letter that it's just potentially from a legal perspective just not a good idea. So they just advise us just not to have people do it. So they're kind of frowned upon these days. You rarely see them.
When I sold a home at one point, I remember my wife at the time and I would get the so-called love letter. I had never heard of this before. I don't know if it was a relatively new development at the time. This is years ago, but I was like, wow, look at this. They sent us a really nice letter about how they can't wait to see their kids swimming in our pool here and all that. And Annie says, Dave, that's a tactic. They all do that. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, okay.
No, you're right. And my wife at the time, actually, she got us our last house, specifically because of that. She wrote some things that appealed. They did not want to accept our offer. It was
it worked.
Oh, yeah. It was much lower than ask. But she said some things that really tugged at them, and they decided to do it. So you can't really
no more.
Yeah, you can't really. I mean, do people do them here and there? Yeah, but I mean, I would discourage a buyer from doing them.
All right.
So cash, no love letters. What else can you do? Now, you can no longer waive the inspection, which I think I might have talked about in one of my podcasts a while ago. Mm-hmm. But the state of Massachusetts came in and said, we really need to protect people. They are desperate to get a house. They waive the home inspection, then they get in, and they have all kinds of problems. And they have tens of thousands or maybe 100,000 or more in problems, and they end up in a really bad situation. So the state passed a law that you can no longer waive the inspection as part of your offer. And the listing agent can no longer ask the buyer's agent if their client is going to waive the inspection. Like, that is a huge no-no right now. So you can't do that. But there are other things that you can do to make it more attractive. And I'm not just saying this for self-serving purposes, but your realtor knows. Your realtor knows what are some things, and this is why I really encourage buyers not to go alone and think that they're going to save on the commission, because you don't do this professionally. You don't do this every day, and you don't know what kinds of things might work. And the realtor's having behind-the-scenes discussions with the other realtor, and they're working on your behalf. They're working in your best interest to make to do the best they can so that your offer will be accepted. So it could be things like, well, I mentioned cash. You can't waive the inspection. It could be simply your pre-approval letter, and it could be that the bank that you're working with is maybe a bank that has given the most amount of mortgages in the area and is just very well known. The listing agent is, if they're doing their job well, is going to have a conversation with the mortgage lender. So you as a buyer's agent, they probably know anyway, but still you talk to that mortgage broker and say, our people are going for this house. Here's some things that I really like you to highlight. And like I said, the mortgage broker, they know often, but there's a lot of little things like that you can highlight either in your offer, or sometimes it's behind the scenes. It's in these conversations that take place. And another thing is having a realtor who knows how to negotiate, because a lot of times it is that negotiation that is going to get you the house. So that's another way. It's just having a realtor who knows how to get you the house, how to negotiate, somebody who knows how to work with people. And sometimes these are things people don't think about. They think, well, the realtor's just there to help me find the house and take me out and find a house. Well,
right.
No, it's not how it works. There's so much more behind it.
If you listen to this podcast, you know all the things that Mike will do for you. Come on.
That's right.
So we've got a few more topics. If you want to peek behind the curtain, people, I've put the topics on the screen so Mike can pick. But I just want to make sure we hit anything remaining in this episode that you'd like to. What would you like to talk about? First-time buyer confusion, common mistakes, or just sort of assorted tips for buying?
I mean, one thing is, you mentioned what are the first 3 steps I should take before looking at Zillow. Well, don't look at Zillow. That's the first thing.
Okay.
I mean, Zillow does, and this applies even more to sellers, but it also applies to buyers, because you can look up a house, say the Zestimate says $800,000, but the person's asking for $950. You may think, well, forget it. But Zillow's never been in the house. They have no idea what updates have been made. So that's not a good thing to do. You really want to work with your realtor to understand whether an offer for, in that case, $800 makes sense or $950 makes sense. You want to work with them to understand the strategy, because sometimes it's not based on the comps if you're a buyer, and it's not based on, well, this house went for that amount and this house went for another amount. It's more about the strategy. How many days has the house been on the market? How many other houses are on the market? And you just have to be comfortable at the end of the day that you as a buyer, that you're comfortable with the offer you're making for that individual property, and not worry about comparing yourself to others. I find too many buyers who worry about, well, this house has those things and I don't, and they got that price. You can't worry about that. You have to worry about your particular situation. So that's a mistake people make, is they look externally, and then that forms their decision. And it needs to be based on your needs and what you can afford. So I'd add that.
Any final tips for buyers before we move on to more about Mike?
I would say that you want to educate yourself and about what's going on in the market, and that's something that I try to emphasize, is educating people and not just going and doing the job. You really want to educate people and make sure they understand what's going on in the market, what the different factors are that we just talked about that influence whether or not an offer will be accepted. And so education is a huge piece, and that's a big part of why I like doing this, why I like working with people and doing this, is partnering with people and educating them is really a great part of the job.
When people are thinking about buying a home, and if they're listening to this podcast and they think, this guy Mike knows what he's talking about, I think I'm going to give him a call. At what point in the process would you, even if you're sort of in the browsing phase of kind of looking around at the market, when should they give you a call? Then or maybe when they're serious?
So I think it's fine if you're in that browsing stage and you just want to go to open houses and learn the market. Again, it gets to education. That's fine. But the earlier you work with a realtor, the better, because there could be houses that you miss an open house, but you're still interested in seeing. Well, a realtor can get you an appointment really quickly and can take you on a tour and see different houses. It's not as easy to call 10 different listing agents. It's better to work with one buyer's agent who can take you around and see different houses, because you're not going to be on top of it and go to every single open house. And they're also going to be looking for you, not just an MLS. But one thing we pride ourselves on in my office is we have 150 agents, and you can share what we call a non-MLS listing. Once a client signs, you can share that with other folks in the office. It's up to the seller. You can share it with whoever you want until it's live. So we have that advantage that there are 150 people I work with who may have a match for what my buyer is looking for. And that buyer will not be connected with that house if they're not working with somebody.
And unless there's any confusion, you don't get paid by the hour. In other words, in other words,
sometimes.
Sometimes. In other words, if someone's hesitant, like, what do I need to get Mike involved now? I don't want to. But you represent sellers as well, but you represent buyer. So I'm just telling people, why aren't you calling? Call right now.
Yeah, there's really no reason to, because you're gonna. You're right. You don't pay hourly. It's going to be the same at the end of the day.
And you're going to be a more educated, well-armed buyer than the next guy who's not working with a realtor, not working with you.
Yeah, and find somebody who's going to do that. I'm not the only realtor in the world who focuses on education.
Yes, you are.
I'm the best. No, that's really important.
Because the one with the best podcast. No,
a lot of realtors just focus on transactions and churning them through. And you tell me you want, I'll find it. You'll sign. You'll be good. There's much more to it than that.
And speaking of much more, how about we learn a little bit more about Mike in everyone's favorite segment, More About Mike.
More about Mike.
More about Mike.
More about Mike.
As we do here, we just pick one topic at random. We spin the wheel. This wheel always takes too long. The question for today is, this is a good one. What's the dumbest injury you've ever had, Mike? I have one as well that I'll share after you share.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be hard to top mine. So when I was a teenager, I was playing Babe Ruth baseball. So I don't know, I was like 14, 15 years old. And I was playing, this is embarrassing, I was playing Twister with my brothers, okay? I'm playing Twister in the house.
Yeah.
And I won.
Congrats.
Okay. Yeah.
But at what price?
I got excited. I jump up.
Yep.
I land on my toe.
Oh.
All my weight on my big toe.
Wow.
I fractured it, and I missed, I don't know, a couple weeks. I couldn't walk.
Toe injuries are brutal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you think, how bad can a toe be? Like,
yeah.
In NFL, and was it Joe Burrow who got toe turf this year?
Yeah.
You get that. It affects your whole foot. It's painful as hell.
This was my big toe.
Yeah. The big toe is the captain of the whole foot, right?
I don't, exactly. He's the captain. Yeah. I don't think I told the coach what happened. I mean, it was so embarrassing. I think.
You played through it then?
No, I couldn't.
Oh, right.
But I think I made up something so that he didn't know it was from Twister and me getting excited about a victory. I mean, he'd be like, you got to be kidding me.
I know. But you did win the Twister game. I'll do mine real quick. It's not so much the dumbest injury. It's just the fragility of the human body, which is so frustrating sometimes. I was playing softball in, I want to say it was around 2000, 2001 or so. And you remember a guy named Louis Steinberg, the Sharon guy?
Maybe not think so.
Diminutive guy, but super nice and decent athlete. And he's playing left field, and I'm playing like left center field. And someone hit sort of a bloop, and we're both kind of approaching the ball. And he claims he said, I got it. I didn't hear him. He didn't yell loud if he yelled. And so then I thought it was his ball. But as I'm getting closer, kind of almost in a full sprint I was 40 at the time, so still not that fast. But I did kind of a double take, and then I was like, I guess I do have to dive. So it wasn't like a graceful, like Fred Lynn dive. It was like a herky-jerky dive. Landed on the kind of middle of my back awkwardly, and a lot of pain. But I think I stayed in the game, and it just hurt.
Yeah,
and it was such a stupid. I did not make the play, by the way. It fell in, and then Louis standing there going, "I said I got it." And I'm like, I didn't hear you, and you weren't going for it, and so it turns out I got a stinger. Have you ever had a stinger? Yeah. So it runs. It I don't know. I'm not a doctor. It's a spinal cord thing, and so you could I could feel pain and tingling going up and down my arm. But the reason I bring it up is it is bothering me today.
Really?
Today. It's become like my chronic injury. So if I don't sleep well, I sleep weird or something, then it comes back, all because Louis didn't yell, I got it loud enough. This is 25 years ago.
You got to communicate.
Yeah, come on, Louis.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, so I take it your toe is fully healed.
Yeah, it heals after about a month.
Okay, so at least yours has a happy story. Mine, not so much.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
I mean, you get old, you're going to have an injury one way or another, I guess. I just think to this day, if I hadn't made that stupid dive, my back wouldn't be so bad. Anyway, we are at the conclusion of another show here, and a terrific one. In the next episode, we'll give the landscape of the real estate market from the seller's position. So check out that 2 weeks from today. In the meantime, Mike, please remind people how they can get in touch with you.
Sure. So you can call me, 617-759-1513. My email is mike.freeman@nemoves.com. And I have an awesome website, mikefreemanhomes.com.
Check them all out there. You can find the podcast, of course, on the YouTube channel. You can find Mike's shorts on the YouTube channel as well, and find the audio version of the podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you find your pods. Thanks again for listening to MarketWise Live, the Real Estate Edition.